liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome to our special meeting here to canvass the election results for the primary for the West Burlington School District. Not for the Burlington School District, not West Burlington, I'm sorry.
No, Burlington City.
Bro, it is Burlington City. This is a bad morning. I lost my phone this morning. I had to go to New London twice, and I finally found it. Okay. Okay, we'll get down to the brass tacks here. We've got all the paperwork up here, and it's all been compiled. And this election summary report for the registered voters, there's 15,181, total ballots 1,263, which was an 8.32%. Number of precincts was 7. Number of precincts reported was 7. Total votes 3,384. The top 6 will move on, which would be John D. Billups at 660 votes, and Antonio Nat Wilson, 455. Antonio Bailey, 383. Robert Krister, 383. Jerry Johnson, 369. Jerry Kemp, 336. Remember, the top 6 will move on in November.
I'll call for a motion.
Yep.
Need a motion to accept the canvass results. So moved.
Second. Cheryl.
Jamie Campbell? I'm not sure I got this right. So who made the first and who made the second?
I made the motion and Jim seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Is Shane on?
No.
Okay.
Cheryl. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's got a yes vote,
Yep.
too? Okay.
Yep. There we go. That is all we need to do. Any public input? If there's any public input, we'll give you 2 minutes to email board@dmcounty.com or call 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you 2 minutes.
These have to be signed. And then you stamp that one.
No, Thursday, but they have something special come up, so they're in a meeting at the moment.
I didn't give you any guidance on it.
Okay.
I think just sign up here. You sign up here where it says, where it says no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheryl, you got some white out there.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
There you go.
Well,
that's why we got
They extended the last.
two of us up here.
Just to
Get things done right.
The prompt is Thursday, I don't remember the exact time.
And Cheryl, she'll make sure it's right.
Okay, I think 2 minutes.
Don't
is
count
up.
on me. Putting way too much faith over here.
No, just with
With an eye, we're out of here.
aye.
Aye.
What you set a record.
Yep.
Okay, stop the recording.
Okay, we're gonna be here for work session with,
Just a minute, I gotta stop this and restart it.
yep,
So
go ahead.
it
We
creates
got
two
time.
different tapes. Okay. You're back on.
Okay, we're here for a work session, Sheriff's Office parking lot and Cottonwood Complex. And the sheriff needs a new parking lot.
If you want to express yourself.
If we could do the Cottonwood Complex.
What's
first.
that?
Can we do the Cottonwood
Well,
Complex
I
first?
said Cottonwood Complex
Oh.
too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can we go through that first?
Oh, you wanna go through that first?
Yeah, if we could. Dina's
Okay.
here for that, and that way she could get out
Doesn't
there.
have to sit through a fascinating discussion of the sheriff's parking lot.
I appreciate
You
it.
can, you're free to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we are going to start with the Cottonwood Complex.
Well, I just wanted to, get a work session and, just kind of get you guys' thoughts or what we're gonna do with, like the crisis center, CPC offices, kind of that whole Cottonwood complex. So, just get an idea, we're looking at doing an RFP going out for services, again, for either like transitional apartments or crisis center. Not sure there's really any funding there, for any of those to be a viable option. So if not, just trying to look and trying to start figuring out a process of what we're gonna do with that complex. You know, if we're gonna look at doing something different, moving some county offices there, or kind of what direction we're gonna go with the whole complex.
Is Optimate planning on staying there?
For now, as far as I know, they are. They're on that month-to-month lease,
Uh-huh.
so they're still funded at this point, but I haven't heard anything on whether that's gonna continue or whether that would go away, so. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything different other than them planning on being there.
I think that would be the time if they move out, what we should decide to do, but we should have some ideas before that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see it, I think our county offices are okay right now as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about anybody else. But I think we should get a realtor and maybe get rid of it. Put it back on the tax roll.
I think we need to reach out to Optimate. They should know by now whether that, the administrative service organization is the term, is going to fund that service or not. You know, they should have an idea now whether, it's gonna be ongoing and they plan to operate it as long as it's funded by the state. Or, no, we're losing funding in 6 months or something like that. It'd be nice to know what they found out, if they found out anything yet. And then if the whole thing is nobody out there, I don't know that we need it, we could talk about that. But, it's silly to have it sit there and not be on the tax rolls and us maintain it and insure it.
So, yeah, and that brings up like the crisis center, so they have fully moved out. I know they're, technically under paying for the October, but they officially kind of moved out. But there is some couches in there, that's kind of why Dean was here. So we didn't know, if we were gonna continue services there, we would need, those items there for the next tenant or whatever, but, if not, there were some couches there that they would like to take with them that they had paid for. So that's kind of why Dean is here to kind of explain that.
I don't have any. But if they're ours and we aren't gonna use them, it's just gonna be a pain in the ass, because then we'll have to store them. And typically, if somebody was gonna, dumb question. The crisis center, and I know it wasn't taking care of itself. was that a reimbursement issue, or was it because the number of clients?
So the county, it was the region for Seal, and then it changed to Mahassey.
Yeah.
We worked with them on a transitional service that went along with the crisis service that was Medicaid funding.
Uh-huh.
And then we also had empty bed days. And so it ensured that we could stay open, depending on our census and depending on how long we kept people there. When this ASO and when the DAP switched over, there were no options for empty bed days or transitional services at all. We didn't believe we could do the service in 5 days. So with that amount of funding, we would have cut 75% of the funds that we received.
I get that.
Yeah, and so we couldn't continue.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I
Sure.
didn't know that they hadn't followed up with the empty bid.
No,
Okay.
yeah, they didn't.
Well, I don't have any problem. It'd just be a pain in the ass. We aren't gonna use it. If we were gonna use it, unless we rent stuff, if we were gonna use it, we wouldn't need couches. Unless it was for the board of supervisors.
They're nice.
I really don't wanna take a nap here, so.
Well, I might, so. Well, I mean, if we moved the office out there to Wicked, no. I don't have any problem
No.
if they take those couches. I know that they were paid for, like you said, through donations of people for provide those services.
Memorials,
So if they've got, if you've got use for them elsewhere, that's what
Even though,
yeah, I'll go,
Yep.
but it's
you got 2 yeses that you can have the couch.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, so I'll reach out to Optima, and kind of see.
where they stand, what they see. I mean, do they have any funding? Is there gonna be funding to keep them going, that service is gonna be funded by ASO? So that, they said, well, we'll be here, or we don't know, or they've told us that no, they're only gonna fund it through the end of whatever.
Do you have any?
I do,
insights
I
on
do
that?
have a lot of information about that. So we have 2 drop-in centers, and one is in Louisa and one's in Lee County. So they changed the stipulations of the things that are required for drop-in centers after January 1st. So they're funded as is through December 31st. And then starting
Of this year.
Of this year. And then the ASO will have DHS requirements for peer support led services, which I believe when the recovery center opened here in Burlington with Optima, it was a peer led recovery center.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so I think, there are more stipulations too, which I don't know all of that. I'm not 100% sure, but they should be able to meet those requirements.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
Sure.
So yeah, if you could ask them about that, get it from the horse's mouth.
Okay. All right, I'll reach out to them and get back to you guys as soon as I hear anything.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Rodney.
Thanks, Rodney. Thanks, Dean.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. All right, guys, we'll move on to the sheriff's office parking
We'll
lot.
move on to the sheriff's office, yeah.
You are gonna stick around?
I don't think so.
Fascinating. We might even walk across the street so you can see what we're talking about.
It's okay.
Tempting.
Well,
Field trip.
Field trip.
don't say I didn't invite you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, you guys.
This here is, I think Brian and his crew's kind of got everything drawn up for the parking lot, so, but I know I talked to Kevin and we were looking at doing a different entryway for the sheriff's office, so we kind of mentioned if we do that, it'd be nice to do that as one whole project. So I guess I'll kind of turn it over to Kevin.
Is this the same that we talked about? And you're gonna close the one door and open the door that goes in to the south parking lot?
Yes, essentially, it would add a ramp and entryway to the southwest corner, so this front right corner as you face it of the sheriff's office. That would transition that would make that the primary entry location. We did just a very rough preliminary meeting with Klinger and one of their engineers, and he gave an estimate to add that ramp to the current concrete bed, to add that ramp, the entry door, trim out the exterior, do all those things to make that happen was 30 to 35,000. I think that was probably 6-ish months ago. We got those
Back in
in.
March, yeah.
What was the parking lot estimate? Remind me.
Right around 300. We were never quite sure what the scope and everything was, so that's probably just a little bit rough. And I think we came up with two different numbers. One was 298-ish if we boxed out and left the area so that the frontage would get done without tearing new concrete out, I guess is what I'd say. Otherwise it's 301, 302 if that whole area gets paved and nothing changes for the frontage. So Kevin's number would be above and beyond that, and there'd probably be, that's definitely a rough number, because there'd be some elevation stuff to figure out for the ramp to make sure it would work handicap wise. But we did look at some of those details also. Our number does not have a ramp or anything like that in it. Our number is just paving the parking lot with some new elevations, doing some extra core out, because there's some spots there that clearly have some soft subgrade issues, some stuff like that. And I would also, I'm gonna remind the board on our number, I'm a little scared of what we find when we tear that parking lot out. It would not shock me to find that we need a little bit more rock in some places underneath that when I look at the failure that I see there, and knowing that there's a history there before that building. There's a little bit of unknown compared to just doing the parking lot out here where we're right by the courthouse and all that kind of stuff. So just
We could be over 350,000 then with inflation and more rock.
between the two, and
Yeah,
I'd also be the first to admit we did our best estimate with what the industry is, but we tend to estimate linear roadway projects more than we do parking lots. So we tried to get into the industry and figure out what flat work, we call that flat work, kind of would cost. So, but yeah, parking lot itself, I think you're looking, without bringing in Kevin's project and everything, you're somewhere in the vicinity of 300 or maybe a shade over as an estimate. So.
And you said your project 35 to 40?
30 to 35 is what their rough estimate was.
yeah.
Our estimate's probably a shade better than their rough estimate because they're into more of a structural dynamic, and ours is just taking up old and putting new down. And they don't have to be, to Rodney's point, they don't have to be combined projects. It's not, I mean, some of what Kevin's project is definitely structural. So you're into a contractor that's not a concrete contractor in all likelihood. It's somebody like maybe an S&G or something like that that's gonna take blocks out or take, structural components and maybe a cross member beam to help span that corner. And then you're obviously into a concrete guy that's gonna do whatever the custom sidewalk and ramp and any steps that go with it would do. But so they could go together, but I don't know if you hurt yourself tremendously not tying them together, other than the last thing you would want to do is go put a new concrete parking lot in and then turn around and saw cut out and tear new concrete out if we can avoid it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think just leaving the footprint for what he has for the ADA ramp, you'd hate to, like you said, you'd hate to pour concrete and then have to come back and.
Yeah.
And
So you mean box it out?
Yeah.
So
Which is,
yeah.
we're prepared to do. We have a ballpark of the box out, but if Kevin's already, or Kevin and Rodney are already working with somebody, we would make sure that whatever the box out is matches what they would want, and that could go. So there might be a small amount of savings to bed them together, but I don't know that there's, normally the more you can put into a project, the better. There's just a pretty big difference between the two as far as larger projects. So it's really your guys' decision, and Rodney and Kevin,
A lot of this,
we don't care, so.
a lot of this comes down to this damn planner that they got out here.
Well, I mean, that's a factor, but I mean, I think Kevin's looking at the opportunity to improve his connectivity anyway. I think it allows, I don't want to speak for you, Kevin, but I think it allows Kevin to reuse his office space a little differently too, and direct people coming in. I think there's a little bit of a couple other factors in there. So from what I can gather, the other complication a little bit is clearly we're helping Rodney out. I say I'm gonna give Devin credit, I'm just a pretty face. But Devin's doing thanks Kevin, thanks for keeping that inside. No, the other issue though is that you're gonna use a consultant, you have to use a consultant to kind of handle what's the appropriate way to handle that facade and the structure and stuff. I don't know if a consulting firm is going to want to take our paving plans for the parking lot and blend them into they may want to, if they're gonna sign a set of plans, they may wanna be the ones that puts together the parking lot also. So that estimate is that consultant looking at that corner and the ramp and saying, this is kind of a ballpark of what we think. And maybe their labor in there also, their costs of helping out.
They have that included.
So I guess I'm saying, I don't know that they're just gonna be willing to take what we've already done and blend it in their plans. So it might be cleaner to keep it separate if you don't wanna bring any other extra fees into redesigning the parking lot. We did the survey, we did, that kind of stuff, so.
What'd you say, Kevin, they have what, who has what included?
So this is what he put, for budgeting, I would give an initial opinion of probable cost in the range of 30 to 35,000. This would include excavation, concrete material, concrete forming and reinforcement, railings, opening and framing the new door location, aluminum, ADA, entry door and hardware, labor, contractor, insurance and bonds, and some dollars for Klinger to provide design slash plans for the project. It would not include removal of the interior door and the wall we discussed, or drywall and painting touch-up, or walk-off carpet squares on the interior after the door is installed.
Does it include the removal of the exterior door?
Of the exterior door to the
The
north?
exterior door to the west?
Yes, so that would be all part of that.
That's part of that,
Yeah.
okay.
Will you take that door out, the one you use now then?
The one to the north, yes.
One to the north.
Yeah,
West.
sorry.
To the west.
Yeah, sorry, some things are going on
Go ahead.
on the radio at times, but, so the door,
The one you go in now,
yeah, and the long term would be that door would be eliminated. What my plan would be, and I've got some kind of rough drawings of just kind of some steps that we would like to take over the next several years to do some improvements just for use of the office that we think we could accomplish without, there's always discussions of where we need to be, what could our office be, those kinds of things. And this seems like a very good option for how to improve the office as it is, where it is. For me, long term, I want to be next to the courthouse, at the courthouse, or at the jail. That's where most of our work happens. So it seems like a really good option that we could utilize the space that we're in and just do some improvements for training rooms, for access, those kinds of things. When I say training rooms, training and meeting rooms where we could have a space where it's not also a hallway that walks through it. So that would be very helpful for us. And this would kind of allow us to start that next step in this, to move that entryway. It also alleviates the issue of where the current entryway is and where it goes out into the planter area.
what, does this affect the bathrooms that's on that
No.
south wall?
So there's 2 public restrooms there, and it would not affect those. Those would remain. And then just beyond that, along that south wall, the interior staff restrooms are there, and none of that would change. None of that's part of the long-term plan.
Is there gonna have to be an ADA bathroom in that?
So the current bathroom that's there, I believe, is ADA. The doors and handlebars and whatnot that are required. But to my knowledge, this entryway would meet ADA, but there wouldn't be any remodel of the existing bathrooms.
Good. Sure.
Do you remember, and I remember even when we did it, I thought that this would cost a little more, but do you remember when we, in the line of credit, and then for the paperwork, the bonding paperwork from the attorney, you have to say, well, okay, we're gonna spend so much on insurance, so much on capital expenditures, So, you know what I mean? Do you remember, or can we check and see what we've got in there? What we,
Pretty sure it's two
Got it in
hundred
there.
and seventy-5 thousand.
it's what,
275, I believe, for that project.
for that project? Okay, and
I believe so.
that sounds about right, okay.
I think that was our
250 or
preliminary.
275, I
Yeah,
I think Ronnie's
I-
right, 275.
I think you're right. And that, actually, that might have been, because I talked to Kevin about this, might have been before we actually thought about doing that.
Oh, it was.
And I think this is a really good addition, not only because of the city's little project out there, but like Kevin says, so he can do a little remodeling to make that area more efficient for his purposes.
I think 275 was the number I gave probably a year and a half ago, actually,
for budget.
for a rough budget
Yeah.
without having done anything at all. And I think that went up partially because of the cost of everything and partially because of adding some rock underneath because of concerns, so.
And we might have even stuck in a little bit when we went to the attorney, we might have boomed up to 275 a little bit. I don't remember, but there's fund balance for that if we want to do something. It would depend on what it costs. What if you're going to do it with the same money, we'd probably we'd have to talk to the attorney. Say, we want to spend more on a project, but we could maybe call this 2 projects. Whatever. Anyway, we wouldn't have that. So that's not your problem. But no, I think this is a good project.
Right now, we're at, basically 335,000 without the rock.
No, I think you're,
That's
right now, I think you're somewhere around 330, 335 on kind of on its face project. There's potential when they get into the structure that there's something they're not expecting. There's potential you get under the driveway and there could be something. I just want to mention it because there's clear signs of failure, and again, that area has been used differently in the past. I'm not going to claim to know the full history there. I just know that there's always a chance we open up and either find more subgrade that really has to be dealt with before we invest in concrete on top of it. And if that's the case, you're talking digging dirt and more rock. So.
I've always read that law enforcement really doesn't take care of their parking lots.
In that 30-35, I don't think that included the north door, like blocking up that north door. So that was just basically the corner and ramp area. So, which is
What's the
something we
north door? Are
could,
you talking about this on
The one that they're get rid of.
yeah, the one that we get rid of on the north
but
side.
it's facing the west.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
We were
so
talking about
that
we were
30-30
talking about the same door then.
Yeah, that 30-35 is just to kind of put that new entryway on
Okay.
that southwest corner and the ramp area. So that could be another, I mean, we're looking really at springtime anyway, so we could look at budgeting something for,
Yeah.
doing that for next year, because we're gonna be close to that time, by the time we get the project done anyway, so we could do that for next fiscal year.
Just lock them up and
So what are you
change
thinking
it up
about?
there, or paint it black so nobody can look in and do your thing until you can.
Yeah, I think Burlington Glass can come in and just essentially fill the void with some, what you call that, aluminum cladding at the bottom and then
Yeah.
glass at the top. And that's basically what they did with every other section.
So the biggest thing, it's gonna be a little more than what we budgeted, so, I just wanted to kind of see where we're at, if we were gonna move forward with that, so we know how to proceed.
It's gonna be more
with
than
the parking
spring
lot.
too.
Yeah, but it depends on when you take the bids. That might want to ask Brian, is now a good time to do that, or would you?
I think it's a great time to take bids. I just think you want your completion time frame to be next year, and maybe you get a contractor desperate enough to lay off their employees and they're short on work, and maybe that parking lot gets done yet this year. That's not a likelihood, but it is a time of year where contractors are like, okay, how long can I keep my guys before I lay them off? And that might be that might be a possibility. Otherwise, the deadline will be next year for construction. The other part of that is we can set our deadline. I don't think you want the parking lot and the door thing going on at the same time. It seems to me that that would be a complicating factor. So we could set our parking lot dates, and then whenever they get around to doing whatever they're gonna do for work or bid or whatever, and that's small enough, maybe that's not a bid, I don't have any idea. We would want to bid ours because we want that competition, the parking lot as a whole. So.
Did you include the concrete for the ramp area? Would that be the same contractor that would be able to accomplish that?
It would be hard to include that without more.
They're gonna figure an extra
overlap.
trip.
You would almost have to do those projects together to get that corner done, to know what the elevation of the ramp and get that to come out, so.
And that's doable to do it together, it's just the question would be is how's that gonna mesh? Or we can remove ourselves and Klinger can take over the parking lot side of it too.
And I don't mind, except that if you try to get it the same, somebody goes in there and I'm gonna be there so long for a parking lot, but they want me to come back
Then it's like a
2
separate
months
project.
and put in a ramp, it's a separate project, so they would have to move in again. I think,
We could bid an alternate if we have a layout for that work and let them give a separate alternate price for that, but a contractor, if they're gonna have to come back a completely separate time with all their equipment, to them it's just a completely different mode and different situation, so.
So we could allow them to bid it in a way that if they want to, they could bid it as one complete project, or 2 different bids to be completed at the same time, so that they're here, they can accomplish it all without moving all their equipment and whatnot.
I think the biggest complication, in my opinion, of so all we've done is looked at this as a flat work type job. Like we did look at roughly we looked at elevations up against your building and tried to figure out where the ADA ramp would go and stuff like that. But as far as anything in there for, a ramp is different than just flat work. You're into some sort of structural walls alongside, you're into probably a structural cap for the ramp, you're into backfill in the ramp, that kind of stuff. We haven't put any of that type of stuff into our plans because that wasn't actually even in the scope when we started talking. So it would, to me, the cleanest thing would be to have that project be a standalone project and let the ramp and whatever Klinger wants for that all to mesh together to be what they want so that the project gets done right. I have no problem including it at ours, but we'll need to spend some more time looking at the ramp aspect. Now, could we do that and do like an alternate A and have something in there for the ramp? It's doable. We'd probably want to get a layout, like a steel layout and a concrete thickness and the structural part of the ramp walls and how the railing, all that stuff. We probably want to get that from Klinger and maybe incorporate it into our parking lot plans, and we would call it basically an alternate A. And the reason I keep saying alternate A is just what Tom said. The odds of, we want to give them as much flexibility for when they want to build this as possible because we want the best price possible. So that's why you would want to bid it as an alternate. But I don't think, to be really honest with you, I don't think you're going to be looking at a huge expense difference whether you tie that small amount of work. It's kind of a specialty thing anyway. I don't know that you're looking at a huge expense difference whether you put that with Kevin's side of the project and they go find a subcontractor to do the concrete, or whoever they is, or whether you tie it with our project, because it is different work. Our contractor doing the parking lot will be really looking at coring out, getting rid of asphalt, putting in rock, grading, and doing flat work. These people will be looking at some structural stuff along with any flat work they do. So I'm neutral. It's not my project. We'll do whatever we can to help. We're not that far from being ready to go with the parking lot. If we bring the ramp into it, that's going to bring a layer in that we just don't have yet. But again, none of that matters to me. We'll do whatever works best for all the parties involved.
when do you think a parking lot would, the actual
If I say,
construction?
For construction?
Yeah.
I think the realistic, I suspect construction realistic will be next year.
Okay.
I wouldn't ever bid something right now assuming construction this year.
Yeah.
Do I think there's a flyer of a chance if we get a bid out right now, we keep the dry weather pattern and mild weather and everything else? Do I think there's a flyer of a chance that somebody could come in? I think there is, but any concrete guy is gonna be skittish about assuming that on top of everything else, surely the temperatures at night and the fact that they're looking at having to insulate concrete because of the temperatures at night. So I think the likelihood is next year, but I think it's a good time to bid no matter what.
We would be pretty close to ready to bid on the parking lot part and just box it out.
Yeah, because by the time if I called Devin right now and called Becky right now and said, put a bid package together as soon as you can, we're not sitting with bid plans right now because Rodney's put me on hold about 3 times. So, which I'm fine with. So, we're probably, Devin's gone next week, for personal stuff. So, we're probably bare minimum 2 weeks from bid plans. Becky can be working on a bid package. Where I'm going is by the time you advertise, by the time you take bids, we're sitting second week of October. So you're probably not taking bids until somewhere in the middle of November at the absolute earliest. Possibly even a little after Thanksgiving, depending on how that shuffles. For the parking lot as it sits, without including anything for ramps and stuff like that.
And I'm assuming for you to come up with drawings for the entrance for your project, I would assume that's several weeks before they would come up with a bid package for that.
I don't have any idea.
That would be my guess.
I would assume so.
That anyway,
Yeah, 'cause
so
I think you just kind of get us
it would not
No,
hold
we
up the
get a
bid on the,
ballpark.
it would not hold up the bid on the parking lot. And,
I don't know, the other thing I'll mention, I don't know if are you gonna bid that project? I mean, you can't split projects to avoid the bid thresholds, but there are 2 very different projects. I mean, even though yours has a little bit of concrete, so I didn't know whether you guys had somebody in mind or if you're gonna have them put together a biddable set of type of documents and you're gonna bid it. I really haven't been in that discussion. I think you have flexibility.
That discussion has not been had.
Well, because I think we're showing good faith in bidding the major part of this project. I think you have flexibility on that front, in my opinion. We're not circumventing the bid threshold. So you could bid it. I'm all for bidding stuff, but you're also into some custom work. I don't know how many companies do all that stuff. So you have some flexibility there. I mean, I guess what I'm saying too is then some of that, you need design drawings so somebody knows what they're doing, but you may not need a bid package put together depending on your decision.
So when you do the flat work then you'll not do the flat work where the door's gonna be, you'll just.
As we're discussing it right now, yes. If the board wants it all together, it can be all together. It's
Well,
just a
no, I'm
matter-
saying if it's gonna be 2 projects. And
Then yeah,
you would go
Our
around
contractor
that,
would saw cut around,
so I'll cut around it.
and then their contractor would tie into anything we did. Which, a seamless project is clean and easy and nice, and it sounds good, so both can be accomplished. But the answer to Jim, yes, what we're talking about, what we have put together is something that we put together 2 estimates and 2 designs. One was doing nothing because the corner of the building didn't come up until after we'd already worked on it. And the other was boxing around the area that they want to use for that project, so the ramps and everything else, and going from there. So that's the 2 phases we've looked
be
at.
easy enough, if you're gonna tie it, the parking lot would be new. So I mean, it isn't, they don't have to worry about what they're gonna find.
Yep.
So that, I guess that's the way I sort of, is having 2 projects. You think this is a good time to go out to bid this, as soon as you're ready to do next year, and then you would have a little time to, because they aren't gonna do that till spring. And then anyway, you could talk to Klinger or whatever, you're gonna decide whether you're gonna bid this, how you want something done, and,
It may end up working out, not to cut you off, but while we're bidding this and all this sort of stuff, and you guys are working in the background on your project, it may end up working out that we've already bid ours. Even if you bid yours, that whoever's looking at bidding it, if they don't have in-house concrete capabilities, will then know that whatever contractor A is, that was the low bidder on the rest of this, they'll go to them and say, hey, you're gonna be here, what's your schedule, what's your time frame? Give me an estimate for this, and it may end up being, it turns into a seamless project.
Yeah, and you can do it
All
while
on
we're
its
here.
own.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll get
but
right
that'll
on
be
that.
their problem and not our problem.
I like those problems.
So it may shuffle itself out because of us bidding the parking lot ahead of the whole kit and caboodle. It makes sense that that concrete guy would say, yeah, I'm interested, I'm gonna be sitting right there with my equipment, as long as I can do it while I'm there, that'd be great. So it may all work itself out without us. I've been trying to outguess contractors in their bid process and their thought for years, and I'm
We're
wrong
pretty
every
sharp.
single time.
We're
Yeah,
pretty sharp.
I wouldn't say it any other way. So, but it does set up really nice for a contractor to already be sitting there and be like, well, I'd really like to stay there and do that, so that somebody's not up against my work. There's a pride thing there too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it also may work to where if you guys don't want to bid it, you could go to the concrete guy and say, hey, other than the walls, would you hold your price and do this? And because again, I don't think you have to bid it, so there's conversations that can be had there. So none of that can all be sorted out.
I think it's two separate projects. I think you can make that pretty easily, that argument.
So for your project, would you, he gave us a rough sketch of basically 20 by 6 foot, 20 foot heading straight south, 6 foot wide, and then a step that comes off the front towards the street of the initial landing right outside the door. I assume you need those dimensions for your box out for the second stage of this project or the second project.
We have a box out already laid out into plans. As long as our box out is bigger than what they need, they don't have to be exact, because I would rather it be a little bigger, so if something changes as you guys continue to evaluate that overall project, there's some flexibility.
Okay.
Whether it be elevation, whether it be whatever. So we'll just make sure that we won't do anything without Rodney saying, I talked to Kevin, this works. And I mean, let's face it, if we bid a project with a box out and you guys find out 2 months later you need more room, our contractor's not gonna care that we move a form 3 feet to accommodate something. So that's no big deal for concrete guys anyway. So probably the bigger thing would be is we'll put together ours and maybe once Rodney's got a final sketch, he can
Final, just kind of pretty.
he can show it to whoever you guys are working with and say, hey, do you guys see any red flags?
There's kind of, I don't know if that's, that was kind of a prelim thing, Klinger had.
We actually took some special elevation shots out there on our own to try to figure out a ramp and stuff, but with not knowing exactly how that's all gonna lay in, they're not obviously.
Street rather than that way down here.
Yeah, no, they're just coming.
Yeah, so if they would try and take it and go east, the elevation drops, the natural elevation drops,
Drop
and
too
then
much.
for the ADA standards,
Okay.
it's just gonna make it
Yeah,
all
we
the more longer,
couldn't,
so.
we couldn't,
That's what I had in my head, you know, when you were talking about this, she was gonna go east
Go
with it,
east.
but that makes more sense to go south.
Yeah, the elevation stays flatter going straight south.
So then you'd have that step up there closer to where the door's at, so other people could just walk in there.
Well, and Devin has gone to the trouble of laying in new handicap parking with the new parking lot layout too, which I don't know if you guys have seen, have you?
Yeah,
I
this is
think
your,
so.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know what had been passed around, what hadn't, so.
I think it really does, it ends up working pretty well.
There's new handicap parking that's up
Yeah.
against the ramp area,
Yep.
so, and these are, he's dove into the ADA stuff, trying to make sure that we're compliant and what we need for that parking lot and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the paint layout and everything, of how that new parking lot would
We're gonna have to
function.
get that parking lot back in there then, aren't they?
I will tell you, he fought long and hard and maybe doesn't still love it, but because of the grade requirements for
Yeah.
handicap parking, this kind of has us, there is some custom work to this project, because this has to be a flatter area, and then of course that whole parking lot falls away. So it will not be a twin to what's there. I don't know if anybody will notice a difference when it's not, but some grades are changing, one to try to get water to keep working properly, and one to make sure that we're flat enough in this area to comply. So.
Yeah, because they have certain codes for the ramp and then certain codes for where the cars park, as far as percentage grade.
You think that parking lot will drain as well without the sinkhole?
It'll be tough. We can go ahead and reinstall some sinkholes as part of the project.
Natural drainage right in the middle.
Yeah.
Soaks right through.
Yeah, so.
Was you throw a little pond right
If
there in the middle?
if you want a pond, we can, like a koi pond or something, that would double as a pothole.
Fish in there.
So when this project happens, will we lose everything all at once?
Unless we stipulate a staging, unless we stipulate something different.
That's gonna cost you more.
Yeah, anything you stipulate changes, but could we? Yes, and to me, that's a question for you and Rodney. I don't think we care. I mean, we could stipulate that they can work from here to here to start with, and then do this second half.
How far back here does it go?
I believe this blue line is where we squared off from Rodney and I's conversation.
Okay.
I think we're trying to, I'd have to look at Devin's current sketch, because we have something newer than this, but I think we're trying to match this area in general, but we boxed out here to create one more spot, if I remember right.
How long will that go on for?
It's a lot of concrete. I mean, I would
And not knowing.
I would think every bit of a month. Every bit of a month. 'Cause
I don't,
you
as far as staff, I'm not worried about, it's more just emergency vehicles, just having at least our 3 or 4 patrol vehicles that are on, be able to get to the vehicle in a little bit more of a hurry, so we can figure
Well, we
something
could,
out.
I wonder.
we could do, I'm sorry, Tom, I don't mean to cut you off,
Go ahead.
but, I mean, we could do something like this, where you could keep some parking immediately by the door separately. We could stipulate, this is a little more concerning, splitting it up, because it's not just a clean, straight grade water, it goes from here to there. We're trying to make sure, we're gonna do our best to try to make sure water comes this way and, all those ways. But could we possibly sever this off and say either do this first or last? And I think we could do something like that. We could split it up too, it's just not how we originally approached the project.
But I'll put it this way, I'm not overly concerned about it. I mean, in the end, if during that month phase that we have to potentially designate some spots for at least say 2 patrol vehicles, so when they're there, they can get out faster.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I mean, we can walk, that's not a big deal.
You got a parking lot up there you can use.
I
Yeah,
wonder if,
Give them one exercise.
if the city would go along and put a hood on those meters, you know what I mean?
sure.
That, for public safety.
Yeah.
That we could have 2 parking lots right in front of the sheriff's office for a month.
Yeah, and just reserve those for patrol vehicles.
Yeah.
I bet you they would.
How long did
I would hope.
this little parking lot down here take? I think I'm short on a month, to be really honest with you, because the first week, minimum, maybe week and a half, is getting all the asphalt out of there, pouring out, putting some rock in, And then you're into pouring concrete and letting that concrete cure and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks.
I say that this was 2 weeks and this is by
Right for each
quite a bit
section.
smaller. So I think it could be a shade more than a month.
I'm not overly concerned with it. I think as long as we could say that, because I mean, contractors are gonna be able to drive their vehicles in there, and obviously if we can work with the contractor during that time that says, hey, for the next 4 or 5 days, you guys can park on the rubble here, then we don't care. Things like that will be helpful for us.
I think maybe if we could do this little section first, that would help.
Let me take a look at, let me take a look at, with Devin, at how he's got his grade breaks and everything to see if there's any, if we could easily kind of sever something that these could either be first or last, so that there's access. And we can always put some general terminology in. Really, the real time everything's cut off, obviously, is when this is poured right here. I mean, that's when everything's out and there's some short term for that cure time. So, but we can, while also letting them work, we can also use some language in our bid documents to make it clear that this has to be as limited as possible of a closure time that's actual through half. So
When possible, just allow access by emergency vehicles.
let me look at the grades with Devin a little bit more, and maybe with Becky, we're putting together some documents for Rodney to do bids, and we can kind of sort it out. See if we can put something in to help minimize that and try to keep this area usable and minimize the actual closure of that particular spot. See what we can do. So it sounds like we're moving. We're gonna move as 2 separate projects. I'll communicate with Kevin and Rodney as far as the box out area for the ramp. And then I'll just keep in touch with Rodney as far as plans, and Becky will put together bid documents as best we can, as we've done in the past, and go from there. Just depending on what we have going, we should be able to help with a little bit of concrete testing whenever the project gets actually constructed to make sure of that. So I think do you remember, was it 6 inches? I don't remember what we did for concrete thickness. Okay.
I would say like on Kevin's project, I think we get a hold of Klinger and get some plans there.
It'd be nice if you got the plans for the ramp and that, how they got that set up.
So yeah, we'll need to get some plans there, and honestly, I think we go out for bid. Obviously, that's probably in our best interest to get the best price to do the project. So if we do that, it would be nice if we could maybe have that run through Klinger. I just know I got a lot on the plate with probably having at least 1 new guy, if not 2 new guys. So I'm just gonna have a lot going on.
I can handle the parking lot bit for you if you would like that.
If we could, that'd be great. I just know
That'd
I'm just not looking to
just
step
gonna have
on
a lot.
your feet.
I just got-
That's,
I just know
I mean-
I'm gonna have a lot on a plate this fall and this winter with different things going on. So it would be a big help to me if you could. We'd greatly appreciate it.
I mean, when I say that, I'm throwing Becky under the bus. Becky's gonna handle it for me. I mean,
We all know that.
I mean, but we handle bids all the time, so that's easy for us. I'm going into the project like this, I wanna be helpful, but I don't wanna step on toes either, so.
I would greatly appreciate it.
No,
It would be a big help to me.
Alright, well then we'll stay in touch. You'll be the final say on stuff, but I'll tell Becky we're handling it in-house. And that will give her a little bit of perspective too.
Are you okay with that for Klinger?
Yeah.
Working on that stuff.
Yeah, and I'll shoot Klinger an email with me and you on it, and just try to get everything I can as fast as, well, when it's available, we'll get it to you.
I don't think it's a huge rush for you guys. I think if we get this thing bid, I still think it may work out to where the same contractor does the concrete side of it all the way together. I think your guys' bid, if it can go out sometime middle of winter, I think that's great. I mean, it still sets up for next year's construction. And the thing is that the concrete work doesn't necessarily have to be done at the same time as the building work. If Klinger's drawings set it up to where a concrete guy can do his work, and then maybe the guy doing structural or the window, whatever it is that you're doing, can't get there right away, or they get there early, it may not matter. So if I were you talking to Klinger, that's something I'd plan in their head is, we're gonna do these separate, but we would love it if the concrete didn't have to be done at the exact same time. You're gonna have that other door for access. So access is not
Yeah, so
gonna be an
we
issue.
say, we still have those two doors, so if they could come in, do the building work, and then just wait on
I mean, if
the
they're,
concrete ramp part of it, maybe they could work, like say,
if
with
they're
contractor.
way
knock that
behind,
out.
then maybe that door work gets done next summer when the schedule allows. The more flexibility, the better the prices. And the concrete guy maybe goes ahead and does it all because they go get a price from somebody that's already gonna be there.
Yeah.
So, and we'll have to also figure out when you wanna put for a deadline for the parking lot. So, again, the same old. The tighter the deadline, the more, the chance that the more your bids are. But we should have a pretty wide range of people looking at this.
Sounds like we have a plan.
All right, we'll communicate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for the support, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Appreciate it
All
very
you
much.
gotta do now is talk to this lady behind us to make sure she gives you the money.
Well, she's a
Pretty
real
damn
bear.
quick. Yeah.
I went with bear instead of the other B word.
That's an improvement.
It is.
Give you credit. Going to
Said
church
that
is
when
helping
she's,
you.
when you got 2 desks between you.
I'm a
and her.
slow learner, but.
Standing awful far away, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I'm backing
Keep
up
backing up.
slowly.
There's your paper there.
Situational awareness.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Rodney, thanks for all the help.
Yeah.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Is there a rack on 99, Kevin?
There is, side by side, and on with another vehicle, and